Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 1st, 2021 at approximately 8:24 p.m. PST. Well, things have been, to say the least, a little complicated. I keep doing my best to avoid listening to the news because it always annoys me that people can be this slow-witted, and I do mean that quite literally. Okay. Everybody's living on the same planet, and yet, and I mentioned this the other day. Okay, I mentioned that I used to think that the major media was the problem. That they were the ones that were spreading the negativity, and then it dawned on me that this is not quite the case. Okay, the sad reality is the massive majority of people are promoting and spreading absolute negative fear-based garbage. And I call it garbage simply because there is no functional purpose to it. People talk about wanting peace. And yet I find out today, quite by accident, that because I ignore the news, I just don't watch it because all it seems to be full of, for the most part, I'm certain there's some decent stuff in it, but the majority of it seems to be negativity. I take a look through Facebook, and I'm watching people taking stuff that embarrasses people. It talks about who killed who murdered what, the whole 9 yards. And unfortunately, it gets very, very frustrating when I sit here and I listen to all this going on. And when you talk to individuals, and I still feel 90 to 95% of people are decent people. So it absolutely confuses me why so much is being spread about negativity, about the differences, about how people's ancestors did something wrong, or about how their childhood had been rough, and that gives them an excuse to be a bully in their adult years. Or how people say, well, I own this much money, that makes me better than the next person. Okay, it absolutely confuses me how people can have degraded themselves, have devolved in their societal outlook so badly that the religious people, the so-called religious leaders, are propagating so much in the way of fear. Love thy neighbor as thyself, but make sure you blow the world up. You people don't seem to get it. The reality of it is that we only have one world that we're living on. And people seem to be pushing for war. Nobody seems to pay any attention to the outcome of that. You would have thought that people would have gained some sort of a reasonable grasp of side effects. Think back less than 100 years. Well, no, just a little, what was it now? Just a little over 100 years now. Okay, when the First World War happened, less than 100 years since the last one. Do people not actually get it? That war does not bring peace. It does not make life better. Okay? Bullets don't care how much money you made, and they don't care who you worship. Okay? Money couldn't care less either. But everybody on the planet is in exactly the same place. Okay? It is time for people to realize one little detail. You're all on this planet together. And if you let this world, if you as individuals continue down the path you're on, we get another world war that's going to make World War II look like a picnic. And it's going to make World War I look like a walk in the park. Okay? You people are not getting it. You keep propagating this negativity. You keep spreading all this garbage about who's hurting who. Keep pointing the fingers at everybody else. It's the elite's fault. It's the religions. It's the new age. It's this color of people. It's that color of people. Look in the mirror. That's where the problem starts. Okay. If you're not willing to treat others as you desire to be treated, or more to the point, if you figure that spreading negativity and berating other people is actually going to make this world a better place, take a look back through history and see how well that has really worked. United States got upset with the taxation issue and had a civil war over the whole thing, the War of Independence, as I recall. Okay, it apparently didn't sink in because wars don't bring peace. They do not bring a better world. They bring an awful lot of heartache, an incredible amount of sorrow. And frankly, you look at it going, people say, well, we don't want war. Well, really? If people don't want war, they will start actually communicating and dumping this whole idea that shooting at people is a good idea and going, we'll just take what we want is a great idea. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Now, I fight with a whole lot of things in my own head, not the least of which is this message coming and getting through? Are we bound and determined that the human race is going to wipe itself out again and bomb itself back to the Stone Age all over again? Every time that I come back here, every single time I watch the same thing happen. Okay, now I've taken a look at this world a lot. Am I perfect? Not even remotely. Well, I guess if you use the term remotely, I guess I am. Okay, but understand, Pluto is remotely close to Earth. Okay, it's a pretty fair piece away, but it is remote. Okay, now, do I consider myself perfect? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I'm very quickly reaching the end of my rope because I watch the people do this consistently. Okay, I was talking to somebody today that flat out told me their marriage was had broken, and they wanted to know if it was going to get back together. In the meantime, they're chasing somebody else's girlfriend and wondering whether or not their wife is still chasing the guy that she was involved with. Now, I'll tell you, I'm still a firm believer that marriage is a good thing. Now, don't get me wrong. But this garbage that people keep talking about let's beat the daylights out of people, let's kick the stuffing out of our own kids, and we'll call that love. Okay, we'll take a look at people and go, just because you don't have the same paper sheet that I've got, you don't know as much as I do, you're not worth as much. This is absolutely, and that just about came out wrong, this is absolutely the wrong path to walk down, unless you're trying to drive the world back into chaos. Okay, now there's lots of people yelling about anarchy and how well that works. Well, here's the problem. Anarchy is the middle ground between one regime and the next. And when you wipe out one regime, when you flip a government, if you don't have a government, another one will form. Okay, and it's just the way it is. I think it was George Orwell that wrote it, but I might be wrong on the author. Okay, but read a book called Animal Farm. It laid it out beautifully. And since I have to deal with that, I will be right back. Now, the reality of it is this. People keep talking about garbage. Okay, about the negative stuff. I find out today, after trying to ignore and trying to stay away from the news, I unfortunately still end up talking to people and find out now that people are going down the same road they have done multiple times. Okay, personally, I would have thought that the people that have lived through wars, that especially when they were younger, that have lived through the horrors of war, would realize that going back into another war, wherever you are on the planet, doesn't bring peace. I would have thought that if the people that were growing up in an abusive home where they watched their parents beating on each other would realize this is no fun and not go out and replicate it. Unfortunately, the people that I'm seeing, what I'm seeing regularly, is I'm watching people repeating the exact same patterns and still blaming everybody else. Now, I went into seclusion quite some time ago and stayed hidden. Now, I know this particular video is not going to elicit a whole lot of people going, gee, I'm really happy about the way this is. And you're saying a great thing. I am not talking about saying a great thing. I'm talking about, look, The world has a very simple issue. Everybody on it is part of the problem. Now, I went into hiding years ago to stay away from people because I could not tolerate the stupidity of it. I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my brain around it. Okay, so I start coming out. Now, people really encouraged me a lot to get out, to start doing a video. Okay, and it started off on one path, but has clearly gone down an entirely new road. Okay, and I don't know how to get the message across. You guys are very simply going to destroy civilization. Now you can call that doomsday. You can say I'm a pessimist. You can say whatever you will. What I am is fed up with the stupidity of what people are doing. You go into a church, okay? Churches are supposed to talk about, they bill themselves as, we're spiritual guides. So the moment you walk through the door, they start segregating you. They start telling you you're not worthy to be in that building with them because they're so much better than you because you're not of exactly the same mindset. Okay, that is not what religion was designed for. Now, if religion was doing such a wonderful job, why, from my understanding, are approximately 80% of wars based on religion? Okay, for a society that is talking about this is love, this is peace. Okay, for people that talk about wanting peace, you're putting an incredible amount of weight of energy into separating people, into segregating people. Okay, I like the way it was put one day in one post I saw. Somebody mentioned the moment you put any color, any description at all in front of the word lives, you're promoting fear. You're promoting prejudice, and you can call it what you will, but that's what you're doing. Okay. William Shakespeare once said that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Well, prejudice by any other name stinks just as badly as it does if you call it prejudice. Okay. I'm not perfect. Lord knows I'm not perfect. But at least I am willing to look at people and treat them exactly the same way no matter who they are. It doesn't matter to me what somebody's pocketbook looks like, but I'll tell you, the number of people I talk to that have money and look down on people that don't, that absolutely disgusts me. The people that sit at the front of a pulpit and go, I am special because I'm up here. Look at me, listen to me. I'll lead you to a better life. But in the meantime, they are absolutely abusing the people around them. They are taking advantage of the people that they're supposed to be taking care of and totally ignoring the ones that they're claiming to look after. There is no functional reason, from my understanding, that people should have to be starving, should have to be homeless. Now, governments do a real brilliant thing. They provide, from everything I've seen, they provide the illegal drugs that they say are illegal. They provide them for the addicts, and yet the drugs that are necessary for people with heart disease, with epilepsy, with CP, with any of these illnesses, okay, that are life-threatening and are not by choice. Governments and medical professionals seem to go, no, you can charge through the nose for that. But the stuff that is going to the addicts that are using what you're calling illegal drugs, they can have them for free. Okay. I've seen people get licenses where, quite frankly, they can't drive a straight line. Okay, and then people wonder why there are so many accidents. Because people have come to the brilliant conclusion, it would seem, that driving is a right. Well, driving isn't a right. Okay, there's all this garbage going on about how, don't take my guns away because, they're not bad. Well, I'll tell you this. The guns aren't the problem. It's the people behind the triggers. Cars aren't the problem. It's the people behind the wheel. People have to realize it's time to take responsibility for your own actions, for your own words. Am I expecting to get a whole lot of people saying, hey, you're being real, you're doing that really nicely. Well done. In all fairness, on this particular video, I'm not worried about it. Okay, I figure I'll get flack. I may well lose a number of subscribers, And hope not. In all fairness, I hope it goes the other way. I'm just tired of sitting back and listening to people go, "Oh, I'm going to post on the internet that so and so got ripped off, and look how embarrassed this person was." Okay, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If you desire this world to change, to become a better place, it's time to get off the couch and quit talking down about everybody around you. If you're going into a church and the church is telling you, fear your God, my suspicion is that's probably the wrong guy to be listening to. If God wanted to wipe everybody else out, it'd be done just like that. Okay. People talk about off-worlders, about when are the aliens going to attack? And then they'll turn around and go, well, we'll just defeat them. Well, ain't gonna happen that way. If the ancient races were to rise up and say, we're going to attack, the war would be over before anybody started. Okay. There are major so-called superpowers. Okay, there is a mispronunciation that can be made. And it starts with an ST. You figure it out. Okay, there are major superpowers that are on the verge of going to war again. Now, you do realize that any one of these superpowers could push one button and wipe the planet out. Okay, these are the people that are in the power positions right now. These are the people that you, as individuals, have got to reach. They're the ones that you've got to get their hands off of these triggers. Put the guns down, put the swords down, reach out, shake hands. Forget this garbage of who's what color. Fires don't care. Tsunamis don't care, and you can bet your bottom dollar if an animal is attacking, it doesn't ask it doesn't ask who you're voting for. It doesn't ask what your pocketbook looks like. Okay, the heat wave that is going through BC right now. Okay, and I presume in a lot of other places. I'm up in Kelowna, BC. The heat doesn't care who you voted for. It doesn't care what kind of money you've got in the bank. It doesn't care what religion you're following. Okay, it's wiping people out wholesale. Okay, no matter where they're from, young, old, middle-aged, it doesn't matter. The heat doesn't care. And sadly, the way I'm looking at the way the world is right now, I swear, much as I will still, and I do that a lot, but I will tell you this. Okay, the reality of it is the way people are behaving, the amount of negative garbage that is being put out on the internet today, that is on the hands of people just like you. People that are standing there going, I want the world to be a better place, so I'm going to put all this negative out because all this negative stuff needs to be discussed. But it doesn't have to be the only thing discussed. Okay, now, I mentioned a number of times that the problem I had with the whole thing with COVID wasn't the fact it was a disease, because it didn't care who people were either. It was the fact that the only people that were being recorded as having passed away were based on COVID. I'll tell you, it was a real weird thing the other day. I heard the numbers for the first time of the number of people, and at the time it was the number I heard was 139 dead from the heat. Now, it was not that I was happy they were dead. As a matter of fact, I really feel for the people who lost somebody. And my sincere condolences to those that got left behind. But the reality was, hearing that there was this extra group of people that had now passed that were not COVID, it was almost relieving. Okay, but what I'm finding is I'm still seeing the same amount of garbage that people are going, watch all this negative stuff. Let's separate people. Now, there have been horrendous atrocities that have happened. Absolutely horrendous atrocities. And you don't have to believe they happened. Those of you that unfortunately were either in the concentration camps in World War II, okay, or knew of people that were, you know it happened. Okay, and all the media in the world, all the people arguing the point in the world, isn't going to change the fact it happened. the atrocities that happened to the so-called First Nations, I'm going to simply refer to them as North American Indians. And if people don't like the term, that's not my concern anymore. Because I will tell you this. The First Nations weren't the first people on the continent. Okay. They are not the only natives. If you're born in this world, in a country, you're native to that country, no matter how well you'd like it to be otherwise. Okay. Doesn't matter. And yes, I'm a white person. Call it what you will. I got told by my ex one day that I was the only true racist she'd ever met, and I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, everybody else looks at skin color, they look at your political alignment, your orientation, they look at whatever, and they go, that's the person they don't like." She says, "You look at the entire human race, and you go, you're all doing the same thing. You're all being slow. And quite frankly, there are people that are not. So if you're one of these people that got the message and is trying to do what you can, absolutely give yourself a pat on the back and ignore what I'm talking about. Okay, or more to the point, spread the word. Okay, spread the message to the entire world. The reason I returned at all was to point out that everybody on this planet, and I mean everybody, not just the humans, everybody on this planet, everybody in existence is in the same boat. And it is time to start getting along. Okay, there isn't one of you from any, well, there are individuals, but there is no one group. I was asked one day by somebody, well, if, since you believe in God, wouldn't God pick one church and say, that's my church? And as I told the person, the answer is absolutely not. That is not the way it was done. What happened was every religion that had already evolved was approached, and each one was given a piece of the information, a piece of the truth. And then they were told, if you want the real truth, get along. You people have not done that. As a matter of fact, you keep separating the churches into different smaller groups. Oh, there's this little bit of a difference. I don't like that, so I'm going to go this direction. And I'm going to tell you, my way of believing is better. I mean, frankly, I'm tired of the whole 9 yards. I'm tired of people sitting there going, I believe in God, and God says love everybody, unless they aren't the same color as me, or unless they don't believe in exactly the same thing I believe in. I only follow 3 laws. Be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, energy out, energy in. Take a look at your own list of guidelines, whatever religion you're following. Take a look at the list and see if those guidelines, if those commandments fit inside those 3. What I do feel you'll find is you'll find that they do. Now, I've looked into Catholicism, into Judaism, into the Muslim faith, into the Hindu faith, into Wiccan, Cree, the Church of Satan, all of these. I've looked into things like the guidelines that they have for Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. All of these things I've looked into myself and found that they will fit into those categories. But I'm telling you, if you people don't start working together, what you're going to have is a burnt out surface on this planet. And the people that are left behind are going to have one heck of a mess trying to move forward. Now, if that's your intention, you're going down an absolutely perfect path for it. You'll manage to pull it off. I remember a couple of years ago, I was going through the park near me, and I stopped and I stopped at a group of about 15 or 20 teenagers. And I looked at the bunch of them because they were sitting there, and 10 feet away was a garbage can. And I looked at the bunch of them and I said, guys, you guys are going to make perfect adults. And of course, most of them looked at me and went, well, thank you very much. I said, it's not a compliment, right? Because they were sitting there 10 feet from the garbage, and they had garbage spread out all over the ground right beside them. Okay. I said, I wasn't complimenting you. And their immediate reaction was, well, we didn't do it. And I'm looking at them, they're sitting right smack in the middle of it. I says, really? I said, that's a cute thought. And I started picking the stuff up, and I says, you know, I can tell you this. I certainly didn't do it. I'm not the one sitting here in the middle of it with the garbage can 10 feet away. The people that are dropping this mess, one candy bar on the ground ain't going to matter a lot. But try 7.4 roughly billion of them on the ground. And take a look at that island. I think it's out in the middle of the Atlantic. Might be the middle of the Pacific. I'm not 100% certain. But I've been informed, what I've seen through the bits and pieces I do catch, is that there is a garbage island out there. Literally a mile or so in diameter. Okay. That is nothing but garbage. That is the individual's job. That is your people's doing. Now, some garbage will end up, even if we put it all in dumps, some will end up out on the ground. Okay, it's not going to be perfect by any means. I'm not looking for people to be perfect. Okay, but I am asking people to start getting along and dump this idea that war will ever bring peace. It never has. Okay, way back in the Middle Ages when swords were the weapon of choice. At least at that point, the leaders of the countries would get out in front of the battle, and if they were saying we're going to war, they were right at the front of it. Now, I hate war. War has never brought peace, and yet you people seem to be bound and determined to do it all over again. Okay, you talk about getting along, and I love the way Robin Williams put it. Okay, he said there are thousands of discussions, thousands of plans for peace, and virtually no action. Well, I'm telling you, if you don't get it straight, we're running out of time here. You don't happen to believe me. Sit back and watch it happen. After it all goes to heck in a handbasket, figure out what went wrong. If you survive. You know, I mean, the sad reality is the people that you guys have in government, ours as well. I'm in Canada. I'm no happier with the Canadian way of doing things than I am with any other country out there. I'm just so fed up with the amount of people that are talking about their way of life being better, and yet they beat the living stuffing out of their own people. Okay, let's help everybody on the other side of the world, but let's beat the living daylights out of our own people. Make them feel as though they're absolutely worthless. Okay, the reality is, some people are born, like nobody is born the same. Okay, I have done my level best to stay relaxed about it. That is clearly not getting anywhere. Okay, you know, I know of people that are now they don't like the term. People have come up with this negative connotation that if you're missing part of the physical body, you're handicapped. Well, you are. If your eyes don't work, they don't work. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. You're blind. If you want to take that as an insult, well, I guess you're more than welcome to. It's not going to change the fact you're blind. Okay. I have fought really, really hard to bring my own blood pressure down. Now, needless to say, this particular day, that isn't working well. But I have come to the conclusion that the reality is, if you people do not start spreading the word and start putting the negative garbage behind you and realize you're all essentially the same. You all wake up in the morning, you all are born, you live through your life doing whatever, and you all die. Whether you like it or not, you don't have to like it. You live your life the way you will. Okay. The reality is, if you don't eat, you starve to death. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. If you don't drink, you die of dehydration. It does not matter who you worship. Okay. And if you do not sleep, you will have all kinds of problems, and it won't matter what your orientation is. Get it through your head. War has never brought peace. It brings quiet, but it has never brought peace. Now, hopefully when I get back here tomorrow, I'll have things a little bit better straightened out. I would apologize, but I'm not about to, because all I've done is say the truth as I see it. And if there's one thing I refuse to do, it's to lie to people to make them feel better. That being said, I do hope that this has helped at least somebody. But give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, okay, and check out the rest of the videos that have come out. And if you do desire to drop a line, okay, or to drop me a note, check the list below this video. There's a whole list of contact points you can get a hold of, where you can get a hold of me, and I will do my best to get back in touch with you. Or I'll put another video out. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, I'm going to bring this to a close, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.